On the night of January 31st, 1959, 9 experienced hikers set up camp on a remote mountain in the Soviet Union. By morning, they were all dead. For nearly 7 decades, no one could explain why. But in March 2026, researchers uncovered a classified Cold War secret that changes everything we thought we knew about Dyatlov Pass. The hikers were led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old mountaineer. They were headed into the Ural Mountains during winter, dangerous, but they were skilled. The mountain they chose was called Koletsyakal. In the local Monsey language, that means dead mountain. They didn't know how true that name would become. On February 26th, a search party finally found their camp. The tent was torn open from the inside. The hikers had fled into the freezing night, where temperatures dropped to -30°C. But here's where the mystery deepens. Their bodies told a horrifying story. Some had severe rib fractures with no external wounds. Others were missing eyes and tongues. One victim had massive chest trauma that made no sense. They weren't attacked. They weren't crushed by an avalanche. Something else killed them. For decades, people blamed everything from wild animals to Soviet military experiments. The Soviet government released almost no information. The case went cold. Conspiracy theories multiplied. But the real answer was hidden in plain sight, in declassified military records from the Cold War. Here's what researchers now believe happened. On the night the hikers died, a Soviet R-12 rocket test was underway nearby. This wasn't just any test. The R-12 was a liquid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile. Its fuel was nitric acid, one of the most corrosive substances on Earth. Witnesses in nearby villages reported seeing massive fireballs light up the winter sky that night. The Soviet military kept this completely secret. When the test went wrong, the rocket failed. Exhaust gases and vaporized nitric acid were ejected into the atmosphere. The toxic cloud drifted across the mountain. The hikers had no warning. They couldn't see an invisible killer approaching in the darkness. Nitric acid fog doesn't just burn skin. It damages lungs. It causes internal hemorrhaging. It explains the rib fractures without any external impact. The acid ate through soft tissue from the inside. The missing eyes and tongues? Thermal burns from the rocket exhaust. The panic? Hikers fleeing an inexplicable attack, gasping for breath as their lungs filled with caustic vapor. One hiker tried to protect others by covering them with branches. Some tried to huddle together for warmth, not understanding they were already dying. They ran into the cold, thinking safety lay in distance, not knowing the poison was already inside them. Within hours, they were all dead. The Soviet government knew what happened. The military recovered the rocket debris. They photographed the crash site. But they classified everything. The hikers' case was officially closed as death by exposure. Their families were told nothing. The mountain kept its secret for 67 years. When declassified military documents finally surfaced in 2026, Russian researchers were able to cross-reference the rocket test dates with the expedition timeline. The evidence aligned perfectly. Every injury pattern matched what nitric acid exposure does to human tissue. The mystery that haunted the world for decades had a horrifying answer. They died in a Cold War accident that should have been prevented. The hikers of Dyatlov Pass aren't forgotten now. They're remembered as victims of a hidden conflict. 9 people who died so that governments could build weapons in secret. Their deaths represent the dark cost of global tension, paid by ordinary people in the wrong place at the wrong time. This is what happens when history stays classified. Truth stays buried, until someone finally decides the world deserves to know.